I do not really know you guys, so I'm here for Scotty, like maybe a lot of people.
Oh.
And then there's 4 thumbs up. So it's apparently...
Listen, now that you read it, I'm on that guy's side. I changed my
mind. Of course.
I changed my mind. I'm on that guy's side.
This is the Inkpulp Podcast.
So we should talk about Shawn's ball sack.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. And Matteo's
how beautiful it is. Hey, demonetized already. After 5 seconds, we're not gonna get our $10 on this episode.
We are looking like, honestly though, we're looking like we're going to be making some decent money on a monthly basis already. That
What's
should
decent?
bring our between 100 and 150 a month, I think, is what we're looking at.
Listen, you guys, I'm gonna go quit my job. Yes, it's like we're gonna make $100 off of each episode, but we're paying $200 for like bots to come and watch us, so we're still in the red technically.
But dude, any business, you gotta expect a loss for 5 years, and then boom.
Okay.
You'll profit.
So we'll
5
still
years.
have
That's all I'm
4
giving.
more years
That's
to
as
go.
much time I'm giving this.
4 more years of it, baby.
Can you guys imagine doing this thing for 4 years?
Yeah, to be honest with you, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been pretty easy so far for me.
It's been fun. Yeah, it's been very easy.
All right.
How about you, Eric?
That means
are you fatigued already?
Eric hates it.
Are you done with us already?
He's done.
I check out every week. I see the invite come up on my calendar. I'm like, I do a cost benefit analysis every time that invite comes up.
Most of the time you check out as you're doing the podcast. So most of the time you just your contribution is just talking for like 2 minutes. So far
there's multiple checkout.
Basically it's like you did 2 episodes of this podcast so far.
Yeah. No, I go through like multiple checkout processes during the podcast. One right as I wake up, right before I send out the link, and right as we're doing it. And sometimes there's a 4th one where I'm like, it's near the end already. Let's just get it over with,
How you doing, guys? How are you?
People like this podcast. What is that, you think?
The compliments I see are the chemistry between the 3 of us mainly, and the topics we discuss. I think people like hearing about the business side of things, and people hear.
I'm sorry. I don't remember us.
That
ever
business word related to us is really funny.
No, but
it made me giggle too.
Like when we have our guests. When we have our guests come on, I mean, we talk about the business side of things. Like with Simone, we talked about the original art world, and with Scotty, we talked business with McFarlane, stuff like that. But I think people like that we have a good balance of like some helpful discussions and then we are goofy and funny. So I think it's casual.
Okay, maybe I'm too close to it because every time they compliment us, I'm like, "What are you guys watching?" I'll read the comments from time to time, right? And I'm like, "What the heck?" And also, I watch the video and I'm like, "Who's that black guy?" And I realize it's me, And I'm like, "Oh, they had a black guy on this week."
Oh man!
By the way, there's one thing that I want to remember from now on. Every time we mention something, I gotta mark it down somewhere so that we give it to Jamie to put it on, like, because for example, on the Scotty episode, we're talking about specific things, about specific covers and stuff like that, and we never showed them. And somebody commented on that.
I saw this comment.
In a really obnoxious way. So I kind of opened up
totally.
they die. But at the same time, they were right.
Well, yeah, and I didn't respond to it because of the way they said it.
No, you shouldn't, man. The way it was formulated, it was like fucking asshole way. Like either that person is like 10 years old. In that case, okay, I don't hope you die. But if you're older than just 16, you deserve to die and your whole family, because that's impossible to communicate like that with people. Weird, like, even if you're behind
that
the
person
screen.
said
God.
The problem is they said, first off, I don't know who any of you are. I'm just here for Scotty.
But here's to clarify that, just to make sure, I don't know who you are. You're useless to me, you fucking pieces of shit.
But that was the point. Premise. The point was like, you're never going to watch this show again, obviously. So why are you telling us what we need to fix?
Like, tell me the things that we need to fix.
There was a Scotty cover we were talking about. Yeah, Scotty was talking about a cover. I think it was the Jaws homage he did. Mm-hmm. And the person was like, if you're going to talk about the cover, we should see it. Like, they were like, you should edit a cover into it so we can see what you're talking about. And yeah, that's a fair point. Sure. Yeah. And we try to do that most of the time. And I'd say 80% of the time we get it right.
Yeah.
But it was like, you're never going to watch this show again. Why am I going to change anything for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You know what? There's a couple of times.
Hey, let's take the suggestion. Like, the positive part of it was that the suggestion was right. So the way it was delivered was fucking unbelievable. But the suggestion was right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that.
Yeah,
from now
I
on.
agree.
Thank you, fucking asshole. Hope you die.
So what I'm doing is I'm taking notes for every episode we do. And if there's something mentioned, I'm going to try to put it in the notes so that when the time comes for Jamie to edit it, he can see the note in there, and we can get the image to Jamie.
So, am I hearing this right, Shawn?
Let me say this.
Have you learned how to write as well now?
I mean, I hired an AI bot to write for me, so I don't have to do the actual writing.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not that you guys are wrong, and it's not that the comment was wrong. I think I'm of two minds. Typically, one is right, which is, hey, we should have an opportunity to show whatever it is that we're talking about. Right. But I remember, I think it was me and Shawn flying to Italy one year. I can't remember for what trip it was, but it was one of the ones where Shawn and I flew together. It had to have been 2018, right? And, whenever you're flying over a body of water, they show that little course map, Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they do this thing where they fly, in an arc to the top part of the planet, because if you apply the long area of the planet, right, it takes longer, clearly, right? If you fly closer to the equator. But if you fly closer to the pole, to the North Pole, the trip is shorter because the planet is rotating under you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a couple of times but in doing so, you put the plane into a tiny bit of turbulence, just the nature of the weather up there, what have you. And so in my head, I thought to myself, like, man, I wonder what we're surrendering because we're trying to opt for a shorter flight. Is there a smoother flight that blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, it's their fucking plane, So I'm getting on board. I bought the ticket. I got in the seat. I buckled the seatbelt. I sat next to Shawn. And I said, all right, you guys take me there.
Right.
Come up with your own fucking podcast.
Right. Exactly.
If you're going to sit there and give us like a pretty actionable critique, admittedly, right? But if you genuinely believe that you can do this significantly better, which again, let me be clear, we're not like closed off to getting feedback. That's amazing. But if it's really going to be to the point where you're as aggressively actionable in your feedback as these guys are talking, I didn't see it, right? Show us the better version instead of
Do you want me to read the comment? Like,
yeah.
You want me to pull it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get it. Just.
Well, to be honest with you, as Shawn looks for it, like, I decided in this kind of case and in general, I decide to take the juice of it and use it to my advantage, meaning the feedback, and it was like, this person is right, and all the rest, I'm just gonna, of course, just for the fun of it, I'm gonna wish that this person dies just for the fun of it, but I don't care, you know.
Yeah.
And I just gonna, in my head, I have this compartment, this, you know, the trash compartment, and I put everything else, like the tone and everything in there, because I don't even want to think about this person. Like, again, it's either this person is 10 years old, and in that case, I'm like, what can you do? Like, he's 10 years old. Or if it's an adult, that's really sad that you think that you can talk to people that way online, you know? So in that case, it's I'm just sad for this person.
We're just having a good laugh about it, right? At the end of the day, The comment section is hold on. The comment section is like open for anybody to give feedback to. We're now looking at that feedback and going like, aha, this is something we can say towards that. But at the end of the day, it's exactly what Mattteo is coming. Like, we understand the baseline is, hey, it would be great if you could just show that cover so we have it in context as you guys are talking about it. Cool. That's pretty freaking awesome.
Absolutely. And also, I want to add something. Thank you, Shawn. A big thank you to Shawn for every time replying to basically each single comment, to reply to them and do the work for it. Because that how do you say it? But that feeds and helps
the algorithm. Yeah.
Yeah, and also encourages people to comment, which is really important. And by the way, I want to tell you all of you, the 5 people that you're listening to this thing, like, I read them too. Then I don't have that much time every time to reply. Like, sometimes here and there when there's a nice joke and stuff like that, I reply. But I read all the comments. So thank you for commenting, and thank you, Shawn, again for replying to each comment.
Sure, I'm happy to do it. So,
all right, let's go. What did they say?
Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to read it in context. So it says, dude, this video would be, all caps, really awesome if you edited and, all caps, add the covers he is talking about, so we can, all caps, see them while he is talking about, period. I do not really know you guys, so I'm here for Scotty, like maybe a lot of people. Oh. And then there's 4 thumbs up. So it's apparently...
Listen, now that you read it, I'm on that guy's side. I changed my
mind. Of course.
I changed my mind. I'm on that guy's side.
To be honest with you, as you were reading it, I kind of not dislike him anymore. Assuming it's a he, or I don't dislike them. I don't want them to die anymore.
Doesn't matter.
With you.
Okay. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. What I didn't like was,
if that was a comment that we said in the room to each other, I'm kind of like, yeah, that sounds like the tone and tenor and by which we talk to each other.
Right, but if we know each other, there's some familiarity between us.
Listen, there's 2 boats. I'm rowing with this guy,
Okay, the problem is this. He wounded our egos a bit when he said, me and Mattteo, we got butthurt. When he said, I do not really know you guys, so I'm here for Scotty. It was like, oh, okay. But then he had to twist the knife, like maybe a lot of people. That's where he's an asshole.
Listen, 0% of that is untrue. You know what I mean? Like,
no, because our viewership went up for the Scotty episode, but not by a ton.
But for Scotty, that's why it went up. Like most people.
No, right. But what this guy is saying, or this person is saying, is that without Scotty, no one watches the show. And
that's true too. Like,
no.
Shawn,
we paid a lot of money for these bots.
Put the microphone a little bit more away from you. Is
it too hot?
It's probably because probably better? You were leaning towards the computer, so you were really close to the thing. Sorry for ruining the moment.
There you go.
Just that.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
I mean, I don't really know who you are, Shawn Cripstal, but you should take your microphone a little bit more away from you. I'm not on this podcast for you, like most of the people, but
you're here for you. Matteo's here for himself. Oh, fuck.
That's actually the spirit of what he just said is oftentimes one of the gates in the morning that I think about. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Nobody's listening to this podcast. We're not important enough for people
to be. So if you guys agree, I should stop paying this guy to watch our podcast, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
Well, he's giving us stuff to talk about, so maybe you should keep.
He's actually earned. Yeah, he's earned his money. Yeah. All right, it's another week. What are we talking about? We do have two
legends coming up in the next 2 weeks.
All right, who are the legends?
We got Klaus.
Yeah.
Klaus is next week, and the week after that, Greg Dobson. So we're doing good. We're doing good.
Yeah. I think if there's a guilty thing that I did, like, I appreciate that people show up because Scotty is here, but speaking quite selfishly, I just wanted to talk to Scotty.
Yeah, I mean,
speaking selfishly, I wish I could have talked to him by myself instead of you guys being here. But you guys have the fucking keys to the door. You just walked in. I was like, okay, I guess you guys are sitting down.
One of these years, we have to get Eric to New York Comic Con again, so we can just have a bunch of footage of grumpy Eric at New York Comic Con.
Why? You're going to fly me thousands of miles just so I can be grumpy in another state?
It would be a great episode. We can talk about how much you hated it. We can put all the clips into all the clips we filmed from the show. It'll be a good comedic episode. Eric loves New York.
Eric, yeah. With a big, like, no symbol through it. You know what I mean? Through the heart. What are we doing? Why do we do this today? We don't have anybody coming on.
No.
What are we doing? Is this just us hanging out?
It's us. It's us chilling.
All right.
It's Shawn and I annoying you.
Better find something to talk about.
You know? That's the main.
But it's a loving kind of annoying, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know
was that?
It's coming from a loving place.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mattteo, I wanted to. I can't see it because it's so blurry, but apparently you have a Lobo commission behind you that you got from Chris Stevens.
Yeah, that's a piece that I commission. One of the few commissions that I have. Normally I have like pages and stuff like that, but yeah, this one I commissioned to Chris years ago now. And
that's what he said.
Yeah, and
because I emailed with him, and he said he watched. He's been watching the show, and he said he's very honored to see that you have his piece hanging up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All I see is a pixelated mess.
And then here I have Greg Tocchini or Tocchini, whatever you want to call him, page from a Wolverine or something. And then here I have Maglia original art from Infinite City.
Yeah. What a great book.
Oh yeah, man. All painted.
So I started a new beautiful. I started a new audio book. It's a concept I was told is something worth exploring and listening to. It's called 12x is better than 2x. Have you heard of this?
Go ahead. Walk me through that 12x.
I just started the book, but the concept is this, that most people when they're trying to move forward
by 10 times, it's gonna get a smaller number than if you multiply it by 12. Right? That's the concept behind it.
Where did you get 10?
So if you have $1
it's 10.
by 10.
Where did you get 10
it's
$10
from?
I'll be right back.
What's the title again?
Did I get it wrong? Far off the rim. Yes. It's 12x is better than 2x, or 10x is better than 2x. I don't know where you got the 12 from.
You said it. You said 12.
You said 12.
I did.
You said 12. Yeah.
Jamie, please. Jamie, when he literally spat out 12.
It's called 12x is better than 2x. Have you heard of this? It's called 12x is... Okay, I'll start over. 10x is better than 2x.
Okay.
Okay.
Should I remake the joke as well, or we good?
Go damn.
Oh God, let's not do this. Let's forget I even brought this topic up. This is so we've killed it. The corpse is lying there. It's done.
Right. Shawn, go ahead. Explain how 10x, 2x, blah blah x.
All right. So in trying to get ahead, most people will double their efforts. And you make these small little increments of advancement.
Okay.
But if you put the time into instead of just doubling what you're doing, but 10 times what you're doing, that the rewards pay off much, 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 much better in the long run.
You're fucking killing me.
Why am I killing you?
I mean, you're saying like the most obvious fucking thing. Is it a strategy to how to now get to 10x as opposed to like maintaining 2x?
I'm done. I'm not talking about this anymore.
Oh, wait, an important question, Shawn. Did you finish the book, or you're the?
No. I said I just started it.
Okay. Then okay. So we don't know the final concept yet.
No, I was just curious if you had heard of this concept or what.
No.
All right, I'm looking up the book now. Here it is. 10x is easier than 2x. All right. But you don't have an opinion about it yet. You just started it.
I just started. It sounds interesting. I'm curious.
Oh, right.
Curious to see what information I can gain from it and put to use.
Okay. All right. Well,
and who wrote it? Is that
I forget the author's name.
Okay, that's a really...
some entrepreneurial person.
This was a really informative and great, moment.
Well, I bring up a topic and you guys just gun me down. There's no discussion.
Well, it's hard, it's hard to talk about the topic because one, I don't know the book, and second, I'm not getting what the book is saying. What's the concept behind it? So,
which is why I asked if you guys have heard of this concept. That's all.
Okay. Hey guys, do you know that I'm gonna shower in 45 minutes?
Section, you know.
Have you showered? Have you ever showered? It's basically when water comes out of the wall and you're under the water, and then you turn off the water and you're cleaner than you were earlier. I don't know. I just wanted to see if you knew showers.
I've got one thing to say to you. Fuck you.
That was two.
There's two things.
One phrase.
That's actually
oh
2X.
My God. What is going on today? You guys are out for my ass.
It's 2x. I think that guy made me mad, and I'm taking my anger out on you. I'm going into our comment section now. This video hasn't even posted. I'm already commenting about this video. It would be great, you guys. I'm only here for one of you, but it would be great if you actually read the book and then put the book up on the screen so we know which book it is. Shawn, you're doing fine. Tell us what the book is about after you've read it.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm never talking about this again, ever.
All right, what the heck were we talking about before? Oh, no, we can't talk about that on the air. It's rough.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we were talking about New York. We just mentioned it. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
But Eric, are you gonna be in New York with us or not?
No.
Oh, fuck you.
I don't think Eric's ever going back to New York, ever. Right, Eric? Am I right in saying that?
It might be. No, never say never. But if I can find a way to hang out with you guys independent of New York, I think I'd opt for that more.
Yeah.
But let's say that was the only opportunity. I'd be hard pressed to do it, especially in the context of a show. But again, if I hadn't seen you guys in a long time, luckily we have been able to hang out in some other context. At a show still, but not as at least for me, overwhelming like New York City, New York Comic Con.
I think you guys should seriously think about doing that OAX show next year because it's really easy to hang out together.
I want to do it. Yeah,
it's a really low maintenance, easy show to do. It's awesome. It's just art, and you can hang. You get plenty of time to hang. It's very easy.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus it's on the East Coast, so it's a decent, trip for me. So I'll definitely think about it for next year.
We can hang out for a couple of days after and do one of the parks or something if you guys want.
Because we're grown men.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you take mushrooms and do them, they're really exciting.
How much does it cost to get into Disney World now per person?
I think we got a 1-day pass that got us into all the parks for $200.
Okay.
But that was for all the parks. If you just want to go to one specific park, it's cheaper.
Okay.
It's like $199.
I'm trying to figure out if I like you guys enough,
Yeah, we should go to a water park. Just ride water slides all day. Eric would hate that.
Well, in general, all like parks are made for enjoyment of life. So already I'm not seeing like the red man in there. The Lord of all sadness and rage. He's even crossing his arms right now.
I'm sorry, I'm reading. There's a part of me that's still checked in, something about water parks, something about Lord of Darkness, but I'm also reading emails as we go. So I'm maximizing my fucking
Talk to us about your emails. Anything interesting there?
Yeah. So how do you guys decide for a brand new client whenever they ask you what your rate is? What's the metric by which you go? Do you break it down by hour? Do you guys break it down by page rate? Do you guys break it down
page, since it's comic books most of the time.
Yeah, if it's a cover, I do the same thing. If it's a cover rate, I give my cover rate. If it's interiors, my interior rate.
Why don't we charge?
And if it's for animation, I just ask you or somebody else that I know that has worked or either works.
I mean,
in
it's
animation.
a good point, Eric. I think because comics pays by not the amount of time you put into something, but by the unit of like a page or a cover. That's just how we've always been paid. It's
I
never
understand, but let's why?
I agree with
why
you.
is that? Why is that the standard in by which people go like, oh, we only have, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
especially when it comes to a single image, right? Like, why are we charging something by historically it's been like that because historically those things had actually been equitable, right? It had actually been fair amount. But now I'm looking at what some companies are charging for, or what they're paying out for like covers. And I go like, Mattteo can do a Lobo image and get away with more for doing that Lobo image in the time that he spends for the Lobo image. And he's just doing whatever the heck he wants. He can get away with it, right? Like, what is the incentive of doing a cover if you are not, prioritizing or at the very least maximizing the time that you're spending on it? On top of that, there's this, who is that speaker that talked about, it shouldn't also be constricted to time. It should also be, it should be compounded with like the level of expertise that somebody has. Do you know what I mean? Like if you just make it about an hourly rate, sure, that makes a lot of sense. But you're now bound to that hourly rate. So for instance, if Mattteo is really, I'm going to use Mattteo as the guinea pig for this conversation 99% of the time. So like if Mattteo has a long history, you too, Shawn, right? A long history of work experience, right? Plus anytime that you put him on something, anytime that he put you on something, they effectively like bump up the sales by, let's say conservatively like 7%, which is still huge, right? 15% is incredibly generous, but let's say, okay, we're operating in the 7-15% range. You're paying Mattteo not just for his time, on an hourly basis, not on a per piece basis, but also because you know that when you put him on the cover, he moves the needle when it comes to whatever it is that you guys are associated with, right?
Right.
Yep.
How is it that you're not compounding his work history into that, and you're saying we pay everybody this rate for our covers?
Yeah, and along those lines, they lower their rates and then expect, like Mattteo, who has a higher rate, to then do it for the lower rate.
Well, I don't, that to me is a Mattteo problem, not a them problem, right? Like if they were to come to Mattteo and say like, hey, we used to historically pay you $400 or whatever, $1,500, $2,000 a cover, and now we can only afford to pay you $12. It's up to Mattteo to go like, oh yeah, that was fun at one point, but $1,200, I don't have to take that, That's a them problem.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So are you saying, why do we accept being paid this way?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Unless it's like, Mattteo, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, he was like, dude, I've always wanted to do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover. I've always wanted to do this thing, and this thing. It'd be great to notch that on my belt for whatever it is at the rate that they give me. I'm doing it primarily for the sake of nostalgia and the opportunity to do it, or, in my case.
Also, there's also another component, which is I know that there's a lot of fans of that character. So whenever it's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Spider-Man, or Black Panther, or Captain America, like all those, like Batman, all those famous characters, I know that potentially if I do a really nice cover, I can sell the original and for a pretty decent amount of money because it's it's a really popular character. So that's also that component in my head. That's why, for example, I compare to other artists, like my cover rates are pretty low. They're not that high, to be honest with you. Yeah. And even compared to my my interior page rate, it's pretty low. So
wow, I didn't know that. I've spent the past few years really driving my rate up, and I've got a really nice, I'd say probably high rate for covers now. I would have thought
no, it's decent. More than it's not bad. No, it's not bad. But at the same time, I've always enjoyed doing them, and also by knowing that I would sell them for more, I never minded that much the rate for covers. To be honest with you, not in the same way that I've paid attention to my interior page rate. In that, I've always insisted, like I'm always trying to get more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. There is that struggle though, right? Where a contracting business like, mainstream comics, whatever, however you want to do it. Like I understand from a business and why they can't elevate to, the expectation of giving a higher page rate year in and year out. But there's also a accountability when it comes to the artist, when they lower your page rate or if you're brand new to or you're newish to the industry, why you would take a lower rate. It doesn't. I'm trying to think about that and figure out my way through it to be like, I think we did this to ourselves. In part, we did this to ourselves.
Probably. Well, I think the publishers could capitalize on the fact that when you're coming in, you're just like, this is a dream. Like I want to work for Marvel Comics like my whole life. And then they're like, oh, hey, here, we have a job for you. You're just like, pay me whatever. I'll do it. So
also the market has changed a lot in the last, I think we talked about it in another episodes months ago, but the market has changed a lot in over the last, I would say 15 years, probably. I might be wrong with the numbers, but I would say, around 15 years ago, because now you have a lot of people that work for U.S. industry that are from other countries, which are like Italy, Spain, or South America, Latin America. And just to be honest with you, like even as an Italian, like if I remember years ago when I used to work with Boom, like my page rate was $150 per page. But I was able to do like an issue per month. So it was like 24 pages, $150 per page, was like around, let's round it up to $3,500 bucks per month. Take taxes. You still left with $2,500 maybe without taxes, which is in Italy, it's decent. You can maybe buy a house, maybe buy an apartment, not a house, but it's a pretty decent salary, and you can live out of that. There's a lot of people that are not able to make that amount of money per month. True. So, that changed the game as well, I think, in my opinion. Without considering that, for example, in Brazil, if you're from Brazil, that amount of money, it's a huge amount of money per month. So.
Probably Philippines too, right, Eric? I'd imagine the Philippines, like that kind of money is really good.
I don't live there, Shawn. I just
but you have family there. It's not like you don't know what's going on in the Philippines.
He's black.
I'm not even self-identifying as that. Maddie's doing it for me. Eric is.
Oh, dude! Speaking of which, there's a crazy documentary I was watching on Netflix about that woman, Rachel. I forget her last name. She's a white woman who identifies as black.
Yeah, Rachel Dolezal.
This what?
Rachel Dolezal.
Oh yeah, dude, that documentary is fucking crazy.
Is it good?
Yeah. I've seen it years ago.
Oh, it's that old? I didn't know it was that old. On Netflix?
Oh, unless they made a new one, but I saw one on Netflix years ago. I would say 4 years ago.
I guess it is. I don't know. Steph was just watching it, and I got sucked into it for a little bit, and then I was like, what am I doing? And I pulled myself out. But it's pretty crazy.
Oh, I'm going to...
So Mattteo identifies Eric as black is what we're saying.
So to your point, Shawn, I don't know. It's obviously a decent living, to Matteo's point, right? But I'm also trying to understand the component of like, are you consistent across multiple continents as far as like what these page rates are? We're talking about comics exclusively now, right? So let's stay on that, right? Like, if Matteo's making a decent living off of the kind of money that he was, back then for his page rates, when you go to the Philippines, are you paying the same exact amount of money, or do you take the region into consideration and lower your cap because you can get away with you can get away with less,
Right.
Again, part of this, I have to say, we did it to ourselves. It's interesting to think about, to be like, Matteo's a pro. Every time that you put him on something, he's gonna move those units.
Absolutely.
Don't minimize his impact by giving him, I don't know. It's weird to me.
So are you saying we should be paid by the hours? Is that you think that's a better way of doing it?
If you have to find a way to accommodate everything that I'm talking about in as fair way as quote unquote fair, right? Like way as possible. Yeah. It should be hourly with an expectation that each page should take about X amount of hours long, right?
But if that's the case, let's say you've got two masters of the craft. You've got Bruce Timm on one hand, you've got Art Adams on the other hand.
Yeah.
Bruce is going to move at a lightning pace.
Yeah.
And Art at a slower pace just by the nature of the work they do.
I understand, but I'm not. That's what I'm talking about in as far as like coming up with a mean that allows you to understand. Hey, if you are going to work in this comic book industry, you need to produce at this rate.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? It's not. Yeah. It's not, by no means is it perfect, right? By no means is it perfect, but I think there's something to be said about like, hey, we know Art Adams is only going to produce X amount, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna like whatever. We adjust the hourly, knowing full well he'll only be able to do X amount.
Gotcha.
But we know for sure that when he does something, here is how our return on investment that looks like. Is that what does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess that's where the publishers my guess would be they think, well, that's where royalties come into play. Because if you move more units, then you share in the profits. I'm not saying it's right. I'm
saying royalties shouldn't be part of the conversation. The royalties is a nice bonus to everything. It shouldn't be like in the front end of that conversation. You know
also,
what I mean?
I want to throw another element in it, which is a technicality, but it might mean something. Which is actually like, and I might be wrong. So if I am, just forgive me. But in theory, what the publisher is paying you is not for the page. We call it page rate because it's, it's easier, but they're actually paying you the rights. They're basically buying from you the rights to publish that specific page. So technically they're not, they buying publication rights from you. That's why the original is yours, because they're not technically paying you for the physical page.
Fucking paying you more because now
but to push back on that a little bit, that we only started getting the original art back thanks to Neil Adams. Like when you worked for Marvel in the 50s, you didn't keep your artwork. It was still, they were paying page rates then. So that didn't change. Neil Adams made the argument to the publishers that helped us get our artwork back. And it didn't change anything.
All right, for those in better knowledge of like exactly what we're talking about, or if any of you have any sort of like pushback to the concept, or just want to be part of the conversation, go into the comments section, because this is obviously a half-baked idea. I can't say I can stand behind it 100%.
Yeah. Let's clarify something off the top. We are probably dum-dums.
60% of the people who will be listening to this episode will be like, "What? What's this? These three guys are three morons. Like, they don't understand anything. They've been working in the industry for so many years and still don't know shit about the industry they're in."
At the end of the day, it goes back to something that's pretty on brand for me, which is like, here's how things have always been working. And I always try to push back to go like, does that make the most sense? Or is it, we just take that because that's the way it's always been done. And if you start thinking about like the amount of time that each page takes is whatever it is, let's say 300. Is that typical? What's an average page right now?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think the average would be like 250. Yeah. 250 probably.
Yeah. I'd say 250.
Yeah, okay. So
or if you collect all the artists, it's definitely lower than that. But generally speaking, I would say it's maybe 250. Yeah.
Again, comment below if Mateo got that right, if it's more or less. Anyway, so let's say how long does a typical page take? Is it 8 hours, 10 hours?
It goes
for Mateo,
between
it's gonna be fast.
It goes between 4 and 10 hours. Yeah. I would say between
4 and 10. So somewhere
hours.
in the average is like 8, 7, let's say.
Yeah, let's say 7. Let's say
250.
For a person that works in the industry and is able to do, a monthly book, it should be basically 7 hours, 7 or 8 hours. It's a full day of work for a page.
Yeah. See, I was never that fast.
That's a Shawn problem. If the industry establishes that you need to be able to like crank a full page, and that's the thing, it's like it's such a wide
and that's fine.
Definition of output,
Right.
Doing loose math at 7 hours times $35 an hour, that's about $250. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're asking me to do math.
Yeah, that's about $35 an hour. Is that fair? Do we have a point of reference as to whether or not that seems equitable for you?
No idea.
In Italy, it'd be pretty normal, pretty standard.
Okay.
Like it would be a decent amount of money per hour. But I don't think that in the States it would be considered to be that good. Am I right?
I don't know.
I have no point of I don't know how I work like as was established by page rates. And my wife works on consignment, so it's
what's
I don't know
minimum
what
wage?
hourly rate is.
What's minimum wage right now in the United States?
$12.
Okay.
That's I think.
So at 3x, Shawn, look at that. I brought it back to your 2x, 10x. At 3x, you are making 3 times minimum wage. Right? For a level of craft and expertise.
When you say $12, are you talking about the net or the gross?
No, hour. That's just what it pays. They take taxes out of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the gross.
That's gross. Yeah.
You're gross. Fuck you.
So 3 times minimum wage is, what do you call it? Is per hour times 7 hours, assuming that you can do that, is about the amount of money you'll be making doing American comics. Is that right? I'd be curious to know if that was fair for everybody.
Those are the correct numbers. That would be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's worth going through the thought exercise. Is that worth your time to do? Or could you then go, screw it, independent of like loving comics? And again, to what I was talking about earlier, you've always wanted to do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover, you know? Short of that, right? Is that a viable living if that was the expectancy? And that I want to make that clear. Because back in the day, when I first broke in, a page a day was the minimum, right? That was a minimum requirement as far as the opportunity to work in the industry. They've changed that rule. And I think a lot of the pain comes from the fact that people don't understand that the potentially, this is just, again, this is all potential conversation, the thought exercise, that rate is manageable and equitable if you maintain a page a day rate. The moment people start stretching it out into like, now I'm taking a day and a half, 2 days, as many as 3 days. Of course, it doesn't make any sense for you, right? But if the industry said, hey, you can't work here, you know, unless you do this much, unless you're putting out this much, then I think we'd have less and less of those conversations about how this isn't fair, or I'm not getting paid enough, and blah, 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 blah. Again, just as a conversation, you know?
Yeah, sure. That's an interesting point. And then if you want to take longer, you can self-publish and take as much time as you want.
Yeah, I think there should be a barrier to entry when it comes to like these publishing things, because from a financially, fiscally responsible perspective, right? Our business only runs. Let's say I'm the publisher. My expectation is it runs if it comes in on monthly, and we're able to, and in order for it to do so, we're going to pay you this much, right? If we're both at the table and agreeing what those terms look like and how it's equitable for you, which is 3x minimum wage, right? Can you maintain a lifestyle that's 3 times what the minimum wage is? Yes, of course you can, but that comes with a caveat, which means you have to do a page in about 7 hours.
So under this theory, you're the publisher.
Yeah.
A young Mobius comes to you looking for work.
Yeah.
But it takes that artist 2 days to do a page. What do you do? Do they get iced out of the industry?
You can't work at McDonald's, you know, like you have to go start up your own sort of like.
I don't know if I can go down that way of thinking.
Yeah.
Because, I would want to give that young Mobius an opportunity to be seen.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, you know, so I want to decouple what you're talking about, which is like that guy definitely deserves to be seen, just not in the context of this particular race. You know, you're like, we can't open the race up to people who don't know how to run the marathon. By the way, I'm just playing devil's advocate to this conversation.
I understand. It's an interesting topic.
A marathon, in order for you to be competitive, you need to run a base minimum of X amount of miles per hour, right? Or X amount of time, 426, right?
I don't know that you can boil art down to something, like to equate it to something that's like a physical like activity. Art seems to be it's a very different thing. It's not so tangible.
Now hold on. As you're saying. Again, I want to decouple the idea of like everything that you're saying, which is I agree with, but when you're in the production side of art, there's an expectation there.
Yeah. You see
what
fair.
I mean?
That's fair.
Right? Like if you're going to say you're going to come up with like Electra Lives or like, you know, Arzak or whatever it is that you're referring to, like the high elevated stuff, that's a different space that we're talking about. You set up you establish different rules for those things. But when you're coming up with a baseline, I think there should be things in place to make people go, right, in order for this to be equitable from us, from a publishing / investment perspective, this is what it looks like, right? But in order for us to hire you, the expectation from you is this, or else this isn't a place for you.
Yeah, I understand.
Go make your own comics.
Also, you got to consider that there's products in the industry like miniseries and stuff that we don't need to publish it now, so we have time, so you can plan in advance. So in case that Mobius happen to knock at your door, you can say, hey, I got a miniseries, it's 10 issues, so you can start doing it now. We'll publish it 1 year from now when you'll be 7 issues in. So by the time that the series starts, you only have 3 issues to do before it ends. So we'll make it manageable for you and for us. Hopefully the people will see your talent, so next project there'll be more people interested in buying it, so we can invest more time on you and blah blah blah. But I don't know, it's just my 2 cents. Like I don't even know if it makes sense. I think that you were talking specifically about the classic like Marvel DC industry when you have an ongoing that keeps going and going and going and going. So that's definitely different.
I think Eric was just offered a really low page rate in the email. That's what spawned all this conversation.
No, actually, it goes
back to... Oh, by the way, I remember a story about you, Eric, when you started, when you were super, super young. And I remember you telling me how much
you don't need to lean into super, super young. You know what I mean? Like, the way you said it.
I was super, super young a lot of time ago as well. So we were both super, super young.
But it's the way you did, it's the way you did it with me. You know what I mean? It was like when you were not, falling apart.
No, I just said super, super young because you started really young, right? Is that right?
All right.
Yeah,
okay,
Mattteo,
continue with your thing.
Eric's point is you're making him aware of how old he actually is.
No, that wasn't like, it's like if I told you, hey, when you were 15, like everybody knows that you're not 15 anymore. Like you in your head build up the history. Like, okay, how long ago was I super, super young? Oh, long time ago, and now I'm offended. But that you made it.
I am. You created that in your head. Your shit. I need you to pay attention. But what's your point?
What's your point?
No, I just remember it was just a fun thing. They when you were a lot of time ago,
super young.
A long time ago.
And you started working. You were working alongside with a famous rock star musician, like a metal star. Yep. And I remember.
Are you afraid to say his name?
No, I was just, I don't know if he wants to say it or not. So just to make sure, it's not important. The name is not important. So, but I remember you telling me how much you got paid for those pages, and that's my current page rate. So like, I imagine that back then, that money, there were a few people that would make that amount of money, and you were making that amount of money as a start, like as a starting point for your career. So it must be weird.
But that was in the
nowadays
in the early mid 90s before the crash. Page rates were,
I think it was the 70s, right?
Yeah.
But before
I think it was the Great Depression.
Yeah.
The Mesozoic era.
I was in the Dust Bowl just generating pages for a non-existent publisher. It's the Great
Sorry, Shawn.
Now. I'm depressed just fucking being here.
I was saying that before the crash of the industry, page rates were. We'll never see page rates like that again. They were so incredibly out of bounds high. It was crazy.
Well, plus I think that book was financed by that rock star, so it was financed by a millionaire.
No, but Marvel and DC
book,
were. Yeah, that's true too. But Marvel and DC were paying insane rates at the time. Like people were coming into the industry in their first year in if you were a successful artist, you were like becoming millionaires. It was
what
pretty
do you
insane.
think that people like the big names like Jim Lee or McFarlane or Rob Liefeld were, how much you think they were paid back then to do the books?
They were making, I would bet they were making millions a year working for Marvel DC before they left for Image and started making even more.
Just call Todd. Call Todd right now, Shawn. Hey, Todd.
I'll call Todd. Hey,
call
what's up, brother?
Wait a second.
Don't forget for the time difference, Maddie. You might be sleeping still.
Todd gets up right. Before Todd wakes up the roosters in the morning.
Yeah.
Todd never sleeps.
Slacking off. Okay. All right. Now that was just a curious question in my head to be like, I wonder if this obviously is indicative of currently where we are. To your point, Shawn, the industry was a lot more successful, so it was a little bit more liberal in throwing money around and page rates around. Yeah. But now that it's less successful, if it's successful at all, it's got less money. But I'm just like, man, I wonder where this page rate contracted to or where it came from. You know. Yeah. I'd be curious to understand that.
I think it probably, my guess would be it came from what the publishers could afford to pay and not go out and stay in business. That's my guess.
Yeah. So should
I
they be
think it's just
Mattteo
a delicate
more?
balance between the publisher, making the math on how much money they can make out of a book, and try to calculate that, without going in the red, and then asking to the artist, and the artist would accept it. It's a soul game, and but ultimately it's all in the end of the artist. Like, we're always free to say no or ask for more.
Right.
Right. I'm wondering if every single artist said no to a page rate that was lower than, let's say, $400 per page, like tomorrow. Every artist that gets paid less than $400 per page, $400 per page, would all of a sudden say, "Hey, this is too low." Like, what would happen? Yeah. Like, I'm wondering.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the strength of a union right there. That's when the problem is. The minute you do that, someone's going to jump at the headline and say, "I'll do it cheaper."
Can I take one step back? And we immediately dove into like, that makes sense to us, which is what you said, Shawn, and what you said, Mattteo, which is like, it's probably a handful of factors, not the least of which, like, this is what they can afford to pay in order for the business to run, blah, blah, blah. We jump to that conclusion and go like, yeah, okay, that makes sense to us because generally, right, when you throw a ball up the air, you expect it to come back down because of gravity. What I would like to know if that's actually true, instead of us assuming, right, that's what's happening, because to us that makes a lot of business sense. I'd like to be able to open up their books and their accounting to go like, is that
I bet
really
we all
true?
Would.
Are you really offering this rate because that's exactly what it takes in order to keep the lights on? Like, your margins are paper thin and you just are barely able to get by, or are you doing it because of something a little bit more, cynical, which is, hey, this is you can get away with this rate, and nobody's going to say no to $250 working on the X-Men because the X-Men are a big deal. You know what I mean? To be like, that's so weird to me, Anyway, I want to know if that was true.
It's weird when you think about the fact that we're talking about a few $100s, which, if you multiply it by 20, which is normally like the standard number of pages per issue, okay, we can talk about the difference of, we might be talking about a few $1,000s. So it's weird to think that without that few $1,000s, the whole, an entire publishing house would crumble. So you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point.
It'd be, again, it's a worthwhile conversation with people who probably would never, give us insight into that side of it, because that's somehow like well-protected secret or whatever, because it's more favorable to them. Or what's even worse, I think, is that they don't even bother to ask. right? It's just all that they've known. It's just what, they continuously push out that message that this is all that we can afford. Nobody from the inside goes like, is this all we can afford? And if so, why is that? Nobody asked the why, the critical why question, in order to get an answer. I know. I'd be curious to understand that a little bit better.
I just came out with a great plan. So from now on, my goal will be to become the CEO for either Marvel Comics or DC Comics. And once I get there,
now you fast forward 5 years.
I'll look at the numbers and I'll tell you.
And
then I'll just retire. Like I'll be CEO
and then quit
for 2 days just to see the books. Just show me the fucking books. My 2 friends, like, they need to know this. And once we know, I'll just give up the position and just go back to be me.
We need a friend, because that's not going to be you, Maddie, right? But we need a friend who is like just as talented or just as like elevated and regarded as you as far as like craft, but also psychopathic enough to actually do the plan that you're
probably right.
Eric, you just lobbed that right to him.
There was a secondary component to that. He didn't bother because he was in
Italy. We say you served it to me on a silver platter.
Yeah, I say that here too. Yeah.
Okay.
But also psychopathic enough to do the plan that you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like the one that's like, I'm going to do everything that I can to get into those office, and day 2 after I've opened up the books and taken a snapshot of everything, just fucking quit.
But
need that person.
Yeah, to your point, Eric, to this whole discussion, I think this is why we're seeing such a migration of established pros moving towards self-publishing, crowdfunding, and that sort of stuff, because financially they're doing much better over there. And creatively, they're enjoying it more, it seems.
I wouldn't say, I'm going to push back on that. I don't know if they're doing financially better. I don't know. I don't know everybody's campaign. I don't know how, but I believe that in as far as like, I think the spirit of what you're saying is true though, which is to say like, if I'm going to burn this much time working on stuff, the finances work out in my favor if I self-publish, because I know for sure this belongs to me. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's
which says like, it's almost condemning to mainstream to be like, I'd rather work on something that doesn't pay me as much, because it means so much more to me to have it for myself than to like spend 7 hours a day at $35, $36 a day just so I can draw something for you.
Right.
Yeah. All right. That's our time. We're a minute over. That's a minute more than I'm willing to spend with you guys.
Mattteo, come on.
Inkpulp Podcast.
Hey guys, my new sketchbook, Dumb Shark, is finally out.
That's great, Fratello. Congrats. Eric, what do you think?
Wow, Mattteo. This book has really changed how I think about art. The style, the details, the inking techniques, not to mention the colors. Everything on this book is off the chart. You are so far ahead of any other artist, especially me. I know I always say I don't like your Mr. Freeze book, but that's actually a lie. I was just jealous of your incredible talent because I love everything you do, and sadly, I know deep in my heart that I'll never be at your extraordinary level. You truly are the best artist on planet Earth. This book is a game changer, man. I think everyone out there should go and order Matteo's new art book, Dumb Shark, before it sells out.
Gee willikers, Eric, that was an incredible endorsement. You really made me want to buy it. How can I get my hands on it?
You can find it on www.essentialsequential.com, or if you're in Europe, you can order it on www.pulps.fr.
Wow, Eric. I didn't know you were such a big fan of mine. Thank you. I really don't need to add anything else. You said it all.
What an asshole.
Wait, what?